gonna start, okay? So good afternoon, morning. Welcome to the TCL Chinese Theatre. My name is Emily. Welcome to TCL Chinese Theatre on May 18th, 1927 with the gala premiere of Cecil B. DeMille's epic The King of Kings. And for this premiere, thousands of fans lined up along Hollywood Boulevard from Vine Street to the west of the theater on Orange Street. It's like a 30-35 minute walk to have an idea. And imagine outside, Chinese music playing in the air while fireworks lighting the sky. And all street lamps have been converted into Chinese lanterns for one night only in celebration of Sid Grauman's movie palace. The ticket price for that event was $11. Every day after only 25 cents. So back then it was just insanely expensive. Even with that ticket price, the theater was sold out with its 2,058 seats back in the days. Over the years, we had two big renovations. There was one in 2001, and they reduced the seats to a bit over 1,000 seats. And then the most recent renovation was in 2013. And due to that, they went more than 30 feet down to the basement. Also, over the years, the concession stand came in. Back then, when we had the 2,000 seats, we had seats reaching till here. So we lost a bunch of seats. Nowadays, it's 932. Still a lot, but just not as many as back then. As from Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. So Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell have been honored for that movie to make their imprints outside in 1953. Marilyn wanted to do something special. I'm going to show you outside later what she wanted to do, okay? But for now, that's the dress from the movie. Also, the movie premiered in this theater back in the days.
Esses são gerais. Aqui a gente vai agora, produção lá, já fica. Próxima semana vai ser homem visita.
You see several Star Wars costumes here in the lobby, right? Only two of them are professionally made. It's the Darth Vader and it's the Stormtrooper on the other side. We're gonna pass by there later. The other ones are fan-made. These two are professionally made. They're exact replicas from the original ones. So they weren't in the movie, but they're exact replicas with the plastics from the same molds. And this one is a life-size figure. This Darth Vader figure is 7 feet tall. So the main characters of Star Wars have been honored to make the imprints outside in 1977. And for that imprint ceremony, 15,000 people lined up along Hollywood Boulevard. That was by far the biggest crowd we ever had for an imprint ceremony. Also, Star Wars ran for 1.5 years inside the main auditorium, and that's where we're going right now. So they're gonna talk about premieres, which ones we hosted. The most recent ones are Jumanji, 1917, and Bad Boys for Life. January and February is usually really slow because because of the Oscars and the Dolby Theater, the whole area is like high security and everything. It should pick up by the end of next week again. With premieres, we have between 30 to 50 openings a year, and usually for the big premieres, Hollywood Boulevard is closed off. The red carpet is on Boulevard and it leads into the theater. And then the cast, everyone who was part of the movie, they're coming here, they're watching it. And basically where they're sitting, you see these 3 rows behind this little wall thingy. In the center, these are the best seats of the auditorium. That's where they're sitting usually. For sure, it's invitation only and the whole theater is full. But yeah, that's where they're usually sitting. And for the big premieres, usually, or sometimes they're giving out fan tickets. Then the fans are sitting in the first, second, and third row from the front. So they're kind of like seat fillers then. Yeah, while we are in here, just have a look from time to time to the chandelier. Because it changes the color between this and the purple all the time. It actually looks kind of cool. And yeah, the clip is going to start in like 30-45 seconds from now, so if you just want to take a seat.
Hollywood, land of magic, glamour, and make-believe. Home to the studio dream factories. Since the motion picture industry first became the preeminent source of American entertainment in the early 1920s, the Hollywood community has held a mythical spot in the imagination of movie lovers everywhere. Perhaps no place within that community epitomizes Hollywood and all it represents more than the Chinese Theatre. With its ornamental facade and courtyard of famous hand and footprints, the TCL Chinese Theatre is the most visited site in all of Hollywood, attracting an average of 5 million visitors each year. Hi, I'm Ben Mankiewicz, host of Turner Classic Movies, and I'm going to be your guide for this look at one of the most famous movie palaces in the world. In addition to movies, the theater has also played host to theatrical premieres and assorted red carpet events over the years, including 3 Academy Award ceremonies and most recently the AFI Fest, as well as the annual TCM Classic Film Festival. You're probably wondering how this magnificent movie palace came into being. The Chinese Theatre was the brainchild of showman Sid Grauman, a show business veteran who began his career in theatrical exhibition in San Francisco, managing several theaters for motion pictures and vaudeville acts. After losing 2 theaters in the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, Grauman relocated to Los Angeles, where he built 2 movie palaces: the $1 Million Theater in downtown LA and the Egyptian Theater on Hollywood Boulevard, currently home to the American Cinematheque. For his 3rd and final venture, Grauman partnered with United Artists founders Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and Charlie Chaplin as co-investors in this lavish movie palace. Construction on the Chinese Theatre began in January 1926 and took nearly a year and a half to complete. The theater had its official opening on the evening of May 18, 1927, with the world premiere of Cecil B. DeMille's epic The King of Kings. Patrons were treated to a live stage show called Glories of the Scriptures, designed by Grauman himself. Plus, there were appearances by nearly every major star in Hollywood, not to mention the film itself, which was accompanied by a Wurlitzer organ and a 65-piece orchestra. Grauman spared no expense in making the Chinese the grandest showplace in Hollywood. At a cost of nearly $1.5 million, roughly equivalent to $30 million today, the theater boasted a 1-level seating capacity of 2,058 and a Wurlitzer pipe organ with sound emanating from the auditorium ceiling. Patrons were also treated to extravagant architectural details imported from China. Those 2 lions in front of the theater are from the Ming Dynasty. The lobby is adorned with original works of sculpture by local Chinese artists. And those colorful murals in the lobby were created by artist and actor Key Luke, best known for his role as #1 son in the Charlie Chan films of the 1930s. Probably the most famous aspect of the Chinese is its forecourt, filled with the hand and footprints of stars from the silent era to the present. You might be wondering how this first started. Well, legend has it that Sid Grauman was escorting stars Douglas Fairbanks, Mary Pickford, and Norma Talmadge from the Roosevelt Hotel across the street to check out progress on the theater's construction when Miss Talmadge accidentally stepped into a slab of wet cement. Well, Grauman, never one to miss an opportunity for publicity, seized the moment, getting Talmadge, Fairbanks, and Pickford to make their imprints and sign their names in the wet concrete. And so a tradition was born. Through the years, some 200 stars have made their imprints in the courtyard, along with a few interesting variations, such as John Wayne's fists and Harold Lloyd's glasses. And more recently, Jackie Chan's bare feet and Mel Brooks's 6-finger handprint. Handprints of movie legends go from Humphrey Bogart, Marilyn Monroe, and Betty Davis, to Clint Eastwood, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Jennifer Aniston. How well do your hands and feet size up with those of your favorite star?
Oh, hello, Mr. Grauman.
You were marvelous tonight. Never more glamorous.
Oh, thank you.
One of the greatest performances I've ever seen at the Chinese Theatre.
Thank you, Sid.
You know, I've reserved a slab of concrete. May I have your footprints?
Certainly she'll do that.
Thank you, Mr.
That's
Grauman.
wonderful. And remember, when you take your feet out of that wet concrete, keep them on solid ground, where they have always been.
She'll do that too, Sid, and I'll send you a bill for the shoe.
Classic film fans might like to know that the cement imprints aren't the only items of interest in the forecourt. Beneath actress Greer Garson's cement block lies a time capsule containing a 35mm print of her Oscar-winning film Mrs. Miniver, as well as a copy of the original screenplay for the picture. It still lies there today, undisturbed, since 1942. Movies weren't the only form of entertainment offered at the Chinese. Sid Grauman was famous for his lavish prologues. Those were live staged productions performed before a film. The prologues were always designed with a theme relating to the picture. Many Hollywood hopefuls got their starts as performers in the prologues, including a young Myrna Loy, who would later find fame as William Powell's wisecracking wife in the popular Thin Man movies. Over the years, the Chinese has played host to numerous gala premieres of some of Hollywood's biggest films. Howard Hughes hosted the opening of his World War I epic Hell's Angels here in 1930. King Kong first climbed the Empire State Building at the Chinese in 1933. Judy Garland made her first journey down the Yellow Brick Road when The Wizard of Oz had its Hollywood premiere in 1939. And Star Wars ran for more than a year here, starting in 1977. Recent films that have made their premiere at the Chinese include Gravity, Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, and Godzilla. The Chinese theater itself has made numerous appearances in films, including the original 1937 A Star is Born, Singin' in the Rain, The Legend of Lila Claire, starring recent handprint participant Kim Novak, plus Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks, Iron Man 3 with Robert Downey Jr., and perhaps the most infamous, Mel Brooks's Blazing Saddles.
How did he do such fantastic stunts with such little feet?
As technical advances in filmmaking were introduced, the Chinese has always been ready to meet the challenge. The first sound film to play here was White Shadows in the South Seas in 1928. In the 1950s, the Chinese offered its patrons the full spectrum of 6-track magnetic stereophonic sound. In the 1980s, Dolby Digital and THX systems were installed. This was the first theater in the world to be THX certified. As screen formats widened over the years, so has the screen at the Chinese. From grandeur in the early 1930s, to CinemaScope in the 50s, to Panavision in the 60s, right up to the theater's recent excavation over 30 feet into the earth to create the largest IMAX theater in the world. There has never been a better place to see a movie than right here. Motion pictures have certainly changed dramatically since the Chinese opened its doors in 1927, and today the theater is more than ready to meet any new challenge. The new Chinese is ready to embrace modern movies with a gigantic new IMAX screen, state-of-the-art digital projection and sound, beautifully restored interiors and lighting. All of that ensures the TCL Chinese Theater's position as the premier Hollywood movie palace, and guarantees it will continue to thrill visitors for years to come. For TCL Chinese and Turner Classic Movies, I'm Ben Mankiewicz, and I hope you've enjoyed the tour.
Perfect. So I told you we have a lot of stuff imported, right? You see these red lamps? They're imported from Shanghai in 1926. And these pillars, they imported from China. They shipped it to us in in several sections. Then they stacked it on top of each other and fixed it with giant press staples. I mean, they're decorative, but they're also working as vents for our air conditioning and heating system. And you can see that right here. And all the way up and down. So they're partly hollow. And we have been the first movie theater that had a working air conditioning system like that in 1927. And then if you want to come back in and take pictures, feel free to, okay? Perfect, everyone is here. So, you already heard in the clip actually how it started with the Imprints ride. So that it started by an accident when silent movie star Norma Talmadge accidentally stepped into a slab of wet cement. Sid Grauman saw that and thought it would be a great promotion for his newest movie palace, and later on it turned into a tradition, as you can see all over the forecourt. Well, back in the day, Sid invited the people to make their imprints out here. Nowadays, we have a special committee who is deciding who gets out here, but they are orientated on the criteria he had. For sure is the people out here in the forecourt have to be like movie actors or directors. We had some imprint ceremonies for people like Katy Perry or Britney Spears also. They're not out here. That was just promotional. Out here, really just big movie actors, directors with the long-lasting. Nowadays, though, the squares are getting much smaller, just because we have limited space out here. The latest squares which got placed are all the way to the right-hand side. It's Kevin Smith and Jason Hughes, and before that it was the Avengers. So, to have an idea. Now we're going to Marilyn Square, and I'm going to tell you about her square, and they're going to finish up, and then afterwards, if you have any questions or so, feel free to ask. I told you earlier, Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell have been honored for Gentlemen Prefer Blondes to make their imprints out here in 1953. And Marilyn Monroe wanted to do something special like all the other people you heard about in the clip. She wanted to place a diamond as a dot in her name, in reference to diamonds are the girl's best friend. Well, the theater management discouraged her with that because they have been afraid that someone would steal the diamond. Instead, she placed an earring. A couple of nights after her square was placed out here, someone wanted to steal the earring for sure. The earring broke, but the backing of the earring is still remaining. That's what you can see in the dot over there, okay? So yeah, Marilyn wanted to do something special, but as you heard in the clip, Mel Brooks had a sick prosthetic finger on his left hand. Jackie Chan made an imprint of his nose, the Harry Potter cast of their wands, what Whoopi Goldberg of her dreadlocks, all kinds of stuff just to be special. And yeah, for 92 years now we have the ceremonies out here, the premieres inside. We're looking forward to do so for many years to come. And now if you have any questions, if you're looking for someone in particular, here in the forecourt, or if you need more time in the lobby taking pictures, feel free to go back. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the tour and enjoy your stay here in Hollywood.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.